Today's guest, Scott Armstrong, is the founder of MENTL, something I've been following for quite some time, and I love how it is giving mental health the voice and visibility in organisations that it truly deserves. We are going to talk about Scott's recent ADHD diagnosis, and the difference that that has made to his life so far. So, welcome, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Could I ask you to start today with your journey with neurodivergence?
It's actually quite well. It's obviously a very long journey, but also a very recent journey. I got diagnosed maybe 3-4 weeks ago with ADHD, inattentive ADHD, which followed a diagnosis of GAD, which was linked to childhood trauma. Out of that process, I finally decided to, and quite a few people had been saying to me for many years, and eventually decided, right, it's time to lean in. It's time to actually know for sure one way or another. Not realizing how powerful it would be to get diagnosed, but now I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, it's a brave new world.
And what do you feel is powerful about it?
Well, I mean, I came out of a very difficult childhood, and that was difficult enough without ADHD being there in the background with nobody knowing it, and it's been there all my life. And I think we were talking before we started, like my school reports, my teachers used to talk about me being having potential, but being lazy, being scatterbrained, couldn't be bothered. So I was kind of written off by my teachers. And there's no blame there, because back in the day, I mean, I'm 52, this was back in the 70s and the early 80s, they didn't really have the education that teachers have now. But also my parents also kind of instilled a rather negative self attitude. And then so I've reinforced that all my life. My self narrative and my core belief is that I'm I'm worthless. Um, and the diagnosis and then the subsequent education that I've gone on since um, just challenges all that self narrative, and that is really really powerful. It's a roller coaster of emotions, but largely positive. There's a bit of relief in there. There is a bit of bitterness of the what might have been, but at the same time, that's kind of pointless. But also, there's kind of excitement as well. Like I've got this far with not knowing that that was there, and potentially holding me back. So it's actually quite exciting. Even I'm 52, nearly 53, to go. All right, there's a whole new chapter ahead of me, which is I can live knowing I've got ADHD and recognize it. I'm already laughing at things that used to cause me frustration because I now recognize, oh, hello, how are you?
That's incredible. I guess that's real self compassion.
Yeah, which is something very alien to me. And it's amazing how much that kind of piece of paper, that diagnosis, and reading through all of all of that is very validating in a way, which is, and being ridiculously insecure. Like you obviously so desperate for other people's validation, but this is a clinical validation for once. So I'll take that one for somehow I can believe I can believe the science when other people could tell me, oh yeah, you're all right, and all this sort of thing. Having a piece of paper and having that diagnosis has actually been, yeah, seismic in many ways.
And do you think that would help with self validation? Not seeking that externally. Do you notice that you do that a little bit more, or is it quite early?
Yeah, I'm giving myself a lot more time as well right now because I was in panic mode pretty much all my life, and not helped with the general anxiety disorder as well. Um, so I've been on a bit of a journey for the last sort of 3.5 years since I started this mental health advocacy platform, Mental. And I thought I was starting it for my dad's story because my dad basically drank himself to death through depression, and he couldn't talk to me about his depression. Very strong guy, very successful, very angry all his life, very short tempered. But it was his kind of his death that kind of woke me really up to the power of mental health and the impact it can have on our lives. And I've got children as well, so I started this kind of platform, and I thought I was starting it kind of for my dad's story or for my kids, and in the end, it turned out I was kind of starting it to maybe save my life, which sounds a little bit dramatic, but um,
Not at all.
I was, I'd never done therapy before I started this. I was sexually assaulted by a school teacher when I was about 8 or 9 years old, which is part of the trauma that's in my background, and that had never really surfaced until the last sort of year, 2 years, and I suppose age, energy levels, you can no longer kind of push that back down. So that's come out, and then that led to the diagnosis of GAD this summer, which also led to me taking, just to get stable, some antidepressants, which really, really helped. And it also gave me kind of the presence of mind to, so I've now reported this guy to the police. I will go back and make a statement against him next year. I'm in touch with fellow victims of his, which is brilliant and actually better than many forms of therapy for me. And then that's also then led into me, right, let's get the ADHD then. It's all really kind of, it's been a big 3 months, big 3, 4 months, but it's been a great 3, 4 months in many regards.
It has, and it sounds like you've really regained power there. That you've lost a lot of your life. Would that sound right?
I'd say I don't want to even say I've regained power. I've begun to discover power that I never had, to be honest with you. It's always been there in the background driving me, whether it be imposter syndrome, whether it be just absolute anxiety and panic behind every single, I have been, I'm the typical, the people pleaser, confrontation avoidance, which can be tricky in my chosen profession. I worked in journalism. I worked my way up to be an editor in chief. Sometimes you're confronting people with facts. Sometimes you're having to try and manage teams, and that was really difficult. And I was really bad at it, and it took me a long time to realize I was really bad at it. Um, and now you begin to understand. All right, that's why I struggled with that.
That's why I am the way I am, and now I can be who I'm supposed to authentically be.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, that
So,
journey begins now.
and what does that look like? In an ideal picture, where do you see yourself? What's going on in your life if you were to get there?
Um, I mean, I don't think there's a destination. I
Oh,
just, I think it's a day by day, and I'm already day by day. I feel lighter. I worry less. I'm able to. Um, Usually, like if you get 5 or 6 emails or WhatsApps or anything like that coming in, I'm panicking. I'm almost overwhelmed, and I have to, I have to respond. I have to respond. I have to respond, and I have to stop what I'm doing to respond to that. And already, I'm able to stop and go, right. I'll do that, and then I'll do that, and I don't need to worry about the fact that that one's going to be in 5 minutes time, or I'm in the gym and I can finish my workout and then I can respond without thinking about responding to that email for the next 30 minutes while I'm trying to finish off the gym workout. So I think it is a day by day. Running a business as well, because I'm now, this is my own sort of platform. That comes with inherent challenges, some of which are painful. Things like paperwork. Excel is the devil's work. There are just some tasks that I loathe and are almost physically painful,
yeah.
and also that kind of procrastination. I'm already finding that I can power through it and get more done. So I don't know. I'm hoping to be happier in a way. I already feel that I actually am. I've always been pretty present, but I've always been pretty worried. And it's really weird to kind of turn off that anxiety in a way. And it's just like, oh, is this how normal people feel? I say, no, is this how everybody
Typical.
else? Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Typical, but what's typical?
What's typical? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, oh right, okay. Um, I drive around in Dubai now. Can you like? And I know my wife's seen it already, and I'm driving around Dubai, which can be a frustrating experience at the best of times. And I'm totally chill, which is really because I used to be quite an angry driver there, if I'm honest with you.
It's understandable. Very understandable.
But yeah, so it's really really powerful.
I find it really interesting where you mention about, the messages, the emails coming in, because that's something for me that also changed. Like, I turn off all notifications on my phone, on my laptop, and it's designated time of the day that I will, whether it's personal or professional, it is, I will get back to that at that time where I'm in that mental space. And that sometimes means listening to some brown noise and then saying, okay, I'm here. And the Excel, oh, I get that. Mine
It
is,
literally, it is the devil's work.
uh, I'll put on a 5 minute timer and say I'm just doing 5 minutes, and then if I get in a flow, then it's great.
Yeah.
I can power through, but it's that getting started I can definitely relate to.
Yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. I just once it's there, it's like you just see behaviors that amuse yourself, so you can catch yourself. Like I can tell when I'm procrastinating now. I know I'm procrastinating, and I know where it's coming from, and then I can, I can laugh at myself and be a bit kind to myself, and then try and force myself to do it. Or I can go for a walk, Scott. Just give yourself 5 minutes and try and come back to it.
And that's back to the compassion. It's like, what do you need now? Right now, sometimes I feel when you go into that task, it's like, but why? Because maybe it could take me half an hour to do tomorrow, but today it's probably going to take me all day because I just don't have the want. And I think it's I want to do that now. Maybe it's a dopamine hit because the time's running out, it needs to be in, or maybe it's just I'm in a better space.
Well, it's a funny one as well. It's like I, I mean, it gives me a little bit. I get to be grateful for my life in a way because I landed in journalism at 16 years old, and I was a journalist for like 33 years. And then, let's say, like got up to editor in chief or whatever. But it was obviously it's a very deadline driven profession.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps one of the things that I've noticed it so much more, as well as getting older, is because I've left business. I've left the structure of journalism, which is deadline, 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 and then all of a sudden I'm left to my own devices, unless I'm working for a client. And then for the client, I'll do the work, but for me, I'll leave it to the last minute because again, I'm accountable to the client, whereas opposed to be accountable to the deadline. So I kind of fell into a profession that sort of hid it, but also enabled me to at least progress. Whereas if I'd tried to go into accountancy, I'm not sure I'd still be here.
No, I do think it's about choosing a career that suits you. But I do wonder sometimes, about, because I mean, on that one, I'm very like, like once I decide I'm doing something, that's it. There's no steering me or veering me off the path. It's happening, and you won't pull me away. But as you're saying that, I look at my husband sometimes, and I think like he is amazing, highly intelligent, and when he would do anything for anyone. Has such a brilliant mind. When it comes to himself,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's sometimes is it self neglect or is it what is coming up there that I'm actually not doing that for myself? Is it the ADHD or is it something a bit more deep rooted?
Um,
Is it with you?
yeah, no, I mean, it resonates. I mean, in my case, it could be both. I'm going to try and uncross my arms so my body language is better. Um,
So, do what feels comfortable. Fidget.
no, it's
I'm
just
fidgeting with everything.
no, and I think it can. I think in my case, it is both. It's that that inherent lack of self worth, um, and I found joy particularly in my kids, and my daughter's 9, getting on 10. You'll be seeing this with Sienna as well, but I've got two boys, one who's in university right now, one who's working in the UK. Um, yeah, and I've always put myself last. And my wife, Christina, she's seen it. Like again, if it's for a client, I'll work till 5 o'clock in the morning. If it's me or something that if I developed it, it could help my journey. That's always on the back burner.
Yeah, and I guess it is that back to that external validation. You're going to get that from the external client, and sometimes it's about, well, I know for myself anyway, and I think back to where you're your own entrepreneur, your own business owner. It's learning to give that to yourself. And if I go back to my own diagnosis, that's what gave me self compassion, because I understood why I was the way I was. I understand that I'm an intelligent woman, but I work in a different way. I process in a different way, and that's okay. And it's, maybe it's not working today. I'm not going to be able to write that content I need to, so I'm going to cuddle Sienna for a while, and I'm thoroughly going to enjoy that. And then maybe I'll have like when you came on the camera earlier, I was going because I was running late, and I need to regulate my nervous system because I am very tuned to my senses, and it can be a bit overwhelming at times.
Oh, well, I think I mean, I know how you feel because I'm always like running from one thing to another. I know I need to like keep looking at my diary, going, I want to say yes because that's both a people pleaser and it's just my natural inclination. But it's like Scott, I remember the first year I was doing mental, and I think I was going to be the first person to burn out talking about burnout. Uh, so you do need to build that in, and that's something I'm learning. That's something I'm learning, and be interested to see how that progresses. And maybe one day I'll finish one of those two books I started writing and then never finished.
Oh, I started too. I'll race you to the end.
Well, that now we might be accountable to each other, so we might actually finish it.
It will. It will. We just put the camera on and body double, so we both do it. I'm writing really fast. How fast are you writing?
Tomorrow as well. Tomorrow I'm going for my first. I mean, it sounds so weird to say, but my first body doubling session. Because, and again, I had a friend around for dinner just the other night, and he was like, and we were talking about a podcast. I was like, yeah, I was listening to this podcast. So why were you listening to this podcast? And I went, oh well, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and he's like, well, so have I. And that he's my age, and we've known each other for over 10 years at least. And so now tomorrow we're going to go and sit together in the same office and just try that body doubling thing.
Well done.
Because we're both recent diagnosed, we're both in that kind of education period, and just like, all right, well, let's see if that works. Maybe it'll work.
We could set up a body doubling cafe.
Oh, quickly
I
trademarking,
first.
quickly trademarking that idea. That is a good, I like that though.
Why not?
That is a really good idea.
My husband could supply the coffee. Oh, I've lost track, but I'm so glad to hear you're doing that. So you're actually putting into place what I'm trying to get companies to do. So you can actually give us feedback at some point on how that worked. I would love to hear.
I mean, in typical ADHD, I'm completely hyper focused now on ADHD. My wife,
Of course.
my wife now has a new joke, which is, "How do you know someone's got ADHD? They will tell you." I have now replaced the veganism thing with ADHD. No, I'm not vegan, but you know that old joke of how do you know someone's a vegan? They'll tell you. Because I won't shut up. And I know why I'm doing it as well, because I'm trying to kind of bed in that to my self narrative as well. But yeah, it's an interesting.
No, you will.
I'm leaning into the books as well and reading a lot.
There is. What are you listening to at the moment? Podcast?
I've done two audiobooks. One called Now It All Makes Sense,
Great.
which is by the guy that set up Lad Bible, whose name
Ah, yes. He has a podcast.
Alex Partridge.
Yes.
And now I'm reading another one, which is a lot more. I've nearly finished that one as well, which is a bit more clinical in nature, but also really, really interesting. A lot of science. It's called How to Thrive with Adult ADHD, and I'm going to go into my Audible just to get you his name. It is
Are you?
Dr. James Custow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he's heavily involved in one of the big UK ADHD societies as well. So that's been good, and psychologist has given me a few other books to look at, including Gabor Mate and.
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's brilliant.
So I love Audible, and I can just listen to this stuff. The first one, I started listening to that. Now it makes sense. Just after getting my diagnosis, driving around, and that probably wasn't the best idea because there was a lot of powerful stuff. Like
Mm.
either laughing or crying while driving is probably a bit distracting. Um, but yeah, I just for the first time in my life, I find myself fascinating.
You are. You are. You're a brilliant, unique mind, and the nuances of that, you won't be the same and I think that's what people need to remember. That just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you're the same as your friend you're going to body double with.
Yeah,
Like that will look different. You'll both
yeah,
have different sensory needs. Like you might sensory seek a lot. Like for me, I sensory seek sometimes too much, and then it's way too much. And it's trying to balance that out. So there's always them different needs. Hidden is another great one. It's a
hidden.
podcast. Hidden, yeah.
Okay, great,
I'll send it to you after. It's a really good for neurodivergent podcast. Um,
brilliant.
Charity one, and I can't think of the guy's name in the UK, but I'll send
Oh,
that to you. But for me, I was going to ask, are you a reader? Like, do
hmm.
you delve into books, or can you start and finish a book?
Well, yeah, I can. I have more time. I mean, when I was a kid, I was a big reader, and I will read books these days, but it's more of a time thing. So I am more of a kind of audiobooks person, just because I make use of the time in the car. Going to be really interesting to see whether or not I can sit and finish a book. But I read a lot to my daughter. We do bedtime story a lot, and I love that.
Yeah,
I'm very good at the Harry Potter voices. My Hagrid's brilliant.
I can
Um,
hear it. Come on.
but yeah, so yeah, we read a lot to with her and to her, so that doesn't leave so much time. Okay, I'm making excuses now. Yeah, we should binge. We should binge Apple TV less and read more books.
You shouldn't do anything. You do what you need to do, and that's okay. Just it's sometimes you just need that mental switch off, and that means Apple TV just blur me for a while. It's not always the most recommended, but sometimes we just need that, and that's okay. I think. Not trying to be too hard. The reason I asked is because I'm not sure, other than a child's book, if I've ever finished a book.
Oh wow. Okay.
I will finish an audiobook,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem. Like, and I would literally listen, listen, listen. Like, I would listen to them back to back and retain it. But I would probably read the page of a book outside of a child's book, and I'd forget a paragraph. I'd be reading it, and I'd get to the end of the paragraph, and I wouldn't even know what I read. I would just the processing.
Something. I mean, it's a weird one with journalism as well. And I've always had to learn to get some, and I'm fortunate because I go through a process. But even when I write, I have to stick it through because my brain fills in gaps. And then if you read back, they'll go, well, where's this? Oh yeah, you know what I mean. It'll just shortcut.
Yes.
Um, so I'll skip over words that should be there. There we go. My dogs continue to hold 100% record for barking when I'm on a video call.
Well done. They could hit a world record.
Yeah, well, maybe.
What dogs do you have?
We've got a waddy dog who is about 11 years old, and she's kind of part lab, part waddy, part saluki. And then we've got a poodle who might be a doodle, but we're not quite sure.
Ah, mixed identity like ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. It's mixed
um,
identity, yeah, I like that.
yeah, mine tend to just bark at nothing. So
Yeah,
I can completely relate. So
but yeah.
I guess when you look back on your life, I'm always intrigued. Like when I know you talked about your reports, but can you see areas now where you struggled and you would have loved to say to young Scott, it's okay?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one because again, it's like I've been on a sort of journey of awareness and forgiveness, probably around the child abuse first, That pushed me into being. I went from a very uh, happy child to a very insular child, which led to bullying and me not fighting back. So I didn't, at the time, I had no idea. So I think you know, I would like to go back and put my arm around him and go, actually, that's not your fault, and you're not to blame for that. And at the same time, I mean, yeah, I left. Who knows? I left school with GCSEs, and apparently, according to the cognitive test, I'm quite bright. So you don't know what could have been. I struggled with rejection and criticism and taking that deeply personally all my life, which in some ways, again, like I've always tried to. I guess I've overachieved that imposter syndrome thing again, where I've worked really, really hard. I've been paranoid that people are going to find me out. And as a consequence, I've actually done reasonably well in my career, and I've won awards for some of my work. Not that I feel like I deserve any of them, but um, so that's been a driver. And I don't know. Like, yes, I would love to be able to give compassion to that boy, but I suppose it's kind of like you can't unpick you can't unpick it. It is the rich tapestry of life, and you just have to kind of move forward rather than feel sorry for him in a way. But I do. There has been times when I felt heartbroken for that child.
Yeah.
He deserved better, from a lot of different people. He wasn't to blame for a lot of what happened to him, which I'm beginning to recognise. Uh, so yeah, would I have loved to have grown up much more confident, much more, academically gifted? Well, who wouldn't? But I guess all I can do is start playing with the cards I've got now.
Yeah. 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 I mean, something I do is I have me as a young girl, so I know why I'm doing it. Partly, obviously, I'm doing it for a legacy for my daughter, but the world she'll grow up in. But for her, because she's still in there, them moments where that rejection sensitivity creeps in, that's her. When
Yeah,
I'm a bit, I know we talked off the call about someone talking direct, very direct, and sorry, waited a lap pad. And sometimes that triggers in me, have I done something wrong? Is that awful? And I know it's her. And I think for me, that journey is the self compassion. When I see her, I know this isn't me as an adult, this is me as a child who needs something from me right now. So, what do I need? What did I need in that moment?
that's a good observation. That, yeah, no, and the therapy kind of, even the initial therapy, and for me, like the CBT, just felt very, very shallow, because obviously the ADHD was there and I had no idea about it. But it was even then trying to it did teach me this is that 8-year-old boy who's just terrified responding, as opposed to you as an adult, and being able to take that step back and go, all right, it's okay, you've kind of got this as an adult. But again, that, and now I kind of understand, like, any email coming in, any request, you'd panic. You'd be
Yeah.
in panic mode. No reason why you should be in panic mode. You just need to work through that panic. You're perfectly capable of dealing with the request that comes in, but you automatically assume that you're going to screw everything up and fail the person that's emailing you. So
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to figure you out and they're going to be like, I don't want to work with you anymore. This is, you haven't instantly responded. It's like the saber-toothed tiger. That's how we react to these things.
yeah,
Like the adrenaline's pumping. So it's understandable when we hit that moment, you're not going to have a logical brain functioning as well. That's, I guess, where the nervous system works. But I really want to thank you for saying that about CBT, because I think it highlights that no matter how trained someone is, or they're an expert in their field, unless they specifically know neurodivergence and they can work with neurodivergent affirming practices?
It put me on a path, and it was the first step. And I was
Yes.
lucky because I had, I invested in an EAP for the business just for 1 year to see how it is, and I took advantage of the therapy that I could access through it, and I'm really really glad it did.
Yeah.
It opened a door, shall we say, to on my mental health, but it was a door that once it was open, it couldn't be shut. But it's still taken me 3 years to get to where I am now. There's been EMDR in there, which was more helpful.
Hmm.
I never quite got to finish it off, but that was helpful with the trauma. But yeah, the CBT, and I'm sure it helps lots of people. And I'm a big believer and advocate for people to go and see a therapist rather than do nothing, and rather than stay silent, open up and talk and that kind of thing. But yeah, for me, it felt like it was. I mean, I drink too much. I've drank too much all my life as one of my sort of self medicating
Yeah.
sort of processes. But it's almost for me, it almost felt the same, which was like this is a temporary self med, and I'm never going to sustain this. So I always knew there's, well, always kind of felt there was something deeper going on, something bigger, and it turns out it's a physical, quantifiable, thing in my
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah.
um, which now makes a lot of sense.
It does. And like, even CBT is, I'm trained in it, and it is brilliant, and it is the benefits. But again, I think when there's a lot more going on there, you need to understand neurodivergence, and all of them. I guess any form of therapy can work for an individual, as long as it's what they need. Some might not really work with an individual, just because. Sorry, I completely went blank there. I was like, words come to me. But what I'm saying is, everybody is different, and what form of therapy works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for another. And like that, I did CBT, and it was really beneficial. That was before my diagnosis, and after having my diagnosis and working with someone who is neurodivergent affirming, it just makes all the difference, because some of the tasks you might have to do, it doesn't work with how I process.
And for me as well, like, I mean, I look, and I'm grateful that I went. It opened the door. I'm in that process because I'm still like 3-4 weeks. I'm asking myself the question, well, what's the mask and what's me? You so even back then in those therapy sessions, what was me masking and what was and not knowing I'm doing it, and what was truly honestly me. And that's something to work through as well, just to know, right, okay, yeah. Because I did, like, self-compassion exercises just did not do anything for me. Um, I remember them doing the exercise where it was like, close your eyes, and she filmed me. It's like, close your eyes and talk about your daughter. And I closed my eyes and talked about my daughter, and she's amazing, and I love her, and I adore her, and she's absolutely fabulous. And then she said, close your eyes and say something nice about yourself. My face just tightens, even the tone of my voice changes, even when I'm trying to be nice to her. So self compassion was something that was really, really hard, and just it's 30, 40 years, at least more than 40 years of zero self compassion. So that needs work.
Of course it does. Of course it does. It definitely takes time. Um, but I think for your children, and if that's anything as a motivator for me, is they'll mirror what you do. No matter what you tell them, they will mirror your behavior, and that can really help you drive and say, I don't want that for them. You know, I don't want that for little me. But the compassion is far, and I think, like, when you've struggled with your mental health, that journey isn't, I go to a couple of sessions and, my mental health is going to be amazing now. It is something that requires lifelong dedication. And there'll still be bad days, and that doesn't mean that just because I didn't show myself self-compassion today doesn't mean I can't do it tomorrow. But what happened today that I didn't?
I mean, I'm learning every day as well, and it's kind of, I guess, like your lack of self compassion is going to stop you from doing your self compassion in the first place. But also, I guess the ADHD, not to use it as an excuse, but the ADHD is also going to make it harder for you to sustain,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that. So if you've not had that diagnosed, now that I have it, I'm hopeful moving forward. But yeah, it's
You'll get there. You're already getting there. Big time. Big, big time.
wherever
I
there.
guess if you're comfortable talking about it with the sexual assault, is there any advice that you would give to anyone out there who has gone through something similar? Um, is there anything about your journey that you would have wanted to voice up sooner,
Oh
or
yeah.
what do you
Well,
feel
I mean, I
benefit?
wish I'd grown up in, and again, different time as well. I wish I'd grown up in a family where I was psychologically safe enough to talk about it. I wish I'd been a lot more open and honest with myself about this for years. It's been there in the background, like part of my operating software. It's been behind the wheel of Scott for a very very long time, and it isn't easy, but it's really something to start talking about it and also to take action. I mean, I was amazed, and I don't know where it will go, but I woke up in the middle of the night having this stability now, and I just reported the whole thing to the police in the UK via an online website. And within a few days, they were straight back onto me. Um, Taking this very, very seriously, and they were really, really good. Did an interview with them online. The it's a In this day and age, you think you'd be able to make a statement online, but you can't. You have to fly to the UK and sit in a police station and make the sentence. But they took it very, very, and they said, look, even if this is too much for you to deal with now, if you decide that you don't want to move forward with all of that, this is now on file. You can reactivate this at any point where you feel strong enough or free enough to lean into that. So I don't know whether that process ends up with any kind of justice. It might be that the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, might not take up the case because they might decide it's not in the public interest. He has been convicted for attacks on some of my classmates a few years ago. Didn't get a great sentence, but well, terrible sentence. But it's about me just taking this journey as far as I can, and actually going, right, I've now done everything. And also, he's on the sex offenders register, which is a big relief to me,
Yes.
convicted. But it's also leaning into it, and it is painful, but it's also, and overcoming the inhibition to reach out to old schoolmates. I'm now in touch with two guys who were also attacked, and that is really, really, that is so much more powerful than my wife is super supportive on this. I mean, I've told my wife all about it, and she is really, really supportive about it. But talking to, and again, these are guys that I've not seen for 40 years since we were kids, but just hearing him and them talk about what happened to them, which is horrific, but at the same time, it's like, ah, all of a sudden you know that this is valid and real and actually, um, it's not something you're making up in your head, or was it as bad as I think it was, or all that kind of thing, all that kind of self doubt. So I would say, in a very roundabout way, and sorry, I'm rambling on this one, but
No, please, you're not rambling at all. It's all.
genuinely, you know, being, it's almost discovering another layer of breath in a way, having lent into it, having told my family, and that's had differing impacts. Some members of my family have been very, very supportive. Some member of the family, their reaction, we now don't talk. But that's what it is. But yeah, I'm really pleased that I'm happy that I'm standing up for myself. I'm showing up for myself, and I'm dealing with this stuff. And it's like taking on the ultimate bully, and also taking on yourself at the same time. So if anyone has gone through that, or is dealing with that, then really, yeah, yes, talk it through with a professional for sure. I think that's really, really helpful. Don't deal with it by yourself. You'll be surprised if you reach out and you talk to either your friends or your family, you'll get more support than you feared. Um, and the one adverse reaction that I got was completely not expected as well. So it's been overwhelmingly. It seems weird to use the word positive to talk about what happened to me, but it has been. Again, it's just another. It's another thing that it's there. It's part of me. It's shame has played a big, big part of my life, and to start dealing with that is again very, very freeing, painful. These days work, but um, you shouldn't let shame run your life. Particularly if you are a victim of sexual assault, it was definitely not your fault. As
Yeah.
much as you will tell yourself it is, as much as you will look back at yourself and go, "Why didn't I speak out? Why didn't I?" But this guy's a teacher. I was 8 years old. He was a figure of authority. He had ultimate power over me. He knew what he was doing. He was a predator. He was a predator. And so, yeah, it definitely isn't, they, your attacker will want you to blame yourself. And you are not to blame. You should not feel ashamed for anything and do whatever you need to do to kind of process it, and get yourself into a better place.
Is speaking about it and has been speaking about it left you feeling less alone?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has. And I remember the first time I spoke out, and I haven't spoke out about it that publicly. And I'm only not speaking about it, not too much, just because I kind of want to get to the end of the police process,
Yeah.
and then kind of look back on it. But yeah, it has. Particularly speaking with those who went through it the same as I, that's really, that's been really, really powerful. Um, I've spoken about it, and I've spoken to very empathetic, compassionate people about it, and their sympathy slash empathy is helpful. It's been, it's like, okay, well, it chips away at the shame, but also they didn't go through what you went through, and you vice versa, you would have not gone through what they may have gone through as well. So, but speaking to people that did go through the same thing as I went through it has also been. It's just like I wish they hadn't. I did. I actually, in a very ADHD typical way, I suppose, I came off those calls more ardent to seek justice, not for me, but for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want it for me too.
Good. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Because quite often we do put others ahead of ourselves at the neglect of ourselves, and that's the drive for us. So it's good for you. How are you feeling today as you sit here?
Uh, Good. A little bit wibbly, if that's a technical term,
It's nice.
but it's good. You know, um, I know it's a lot, but I don't have to shut it down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can actually look it in the eye and go, right, this is what it is. Um, and on a daily basis at the minute, it's like sometimes I'll feel shaky. I you know, I'm one of these people that's been more afraid of success than I have been of failure. I've expected failure, and I've been comfortable with failure, and I've been comfortable with assuming that everybody thinks I'm a failure, and that I'm going to mess things up. And that's the default setting. It's actually far scarier to actually start believing in yourself. But that's what I'm kind of doing now. And every time I feel that shakiness, it actually makes me smile in a way, going, "That's change, Scott. That's exciting. That's lean into that. You don't need to shut it down. It might be big, it might seem a lot, but you don't need to just push it down. Just smile, work with it, see where you get to." Um, which is Yeah, a lot. I will say, and again, the medication is helping as well. And I know you said off before we started that it's not a route you've ever been down,
Yeah.
but it is. It's I'm on a thing called Vivance, which is the 14-hour. I can't remember. Lexlis amphetamine or Lexdis amphetamine. So it's a form of amphetamine. So, but yeah, it's bloody brilliant, frankly, from my personal perspective. I just
And
need
how long did it take for you to feel the effects?
24 hours.
Really?
First dose, genuinely first dose. I was a little bit giddy on the first one. I'm walking around like I literally was like, oh my word. And now it's, I can still feel it. I know it's in there, but it's almost like exuberance in a way. And it, uh, you know, there are. I organise these annual awards every year, the Mental Awards, and that's a lot of work. And they
Oh,
need,
yeah.
yeah, and it is a lot of work. I mean,
I imagine.
and every day I'm doing more this year in terms of the marketing for it, in terms of just dealing with everything. Not at the last minute as well, which is, you know, um, uh, and I don't feel. I mean, every year it nearly, finished me off. And last year, half an hour before the event, last year, I said, I'm never doing this again. And it was really, really difficult. This
I
year,
actually listened to a podcast you did last year, not too long after it, and you were talking about how like you really didn't think you were going to make it, of how much it had taken out of you. So because that's toward the end of this month, right?
yeah, it is. Yeah, November the 21st. I've put some systems in place this year. I mean, like last year, I mean, we had 250 people there last year. And again, I'm one that can't really, because it's my baby. It's one of these things we do. So it's very difficult for me to give up control. But can you imagine this? That last year I had a Google form that I needed to get completed, filled out with 250 people, chicken or fish or vegetarian, chicken or fish or vegetarian, chicken or fish or vegetarian. And I had to have that. I'm getting triggered right now. Honestly, it's
Shall we do some nervous system regulations?
um, well, and it did it. Just that one part of it was just awful. Um, and it was. I was exhausted, and I also didn't feel. I felt really bad about last year's awards for at least a couple of weeks. And then I met people that had been to the awards, and they were like, "It was brilliant. What you want about? We are perfectionists, and we do beat ourselves."
Yeah.
But yeah, this year yeah, and it's going well. We've got more sponsors this year. We've got more entrants. The ticket sales are going well, and I'm tracking it. And I spent 3 days creating 120 personalized emails and personalized graphics to send to all of the finalists because they deserve it.
Yes, of course. Of
But I
course.
was able to kind of get through that process. And by the end of the 2, 3 days it took me to do that, I was a little bit like, that was a lot, but I don't think I could have done that last year.
Good. Good. So you've evolved. Have you done the chicken, fish, or vegetable one yet?
No, we're only doing one course this year.
I was going to say. I was
We're not
going to
giving them a
say.
choice this year. And also, bless, I've taken somebody on to handle that side of the logistic things because it's just something I don't want to have to deal with.
That's okay, because I was going to nominate myself. That is a task I would love. Sounds
Really?
very
Oh.
mundane, but yeah, yeah.
So Victoria is doing that for me this year. She's reaching out to all the finalists and getting them to register and pick their nose,
Great,
tell
great.
them all about. So yeah, I put some scaffolding in place. I think is the term.
So if I see you next Halloween, I'll dress up as a Google form with vegetarian.
That will be very scary.
Yeah.
What did you say?
So the tickets are still for sale.
They are, yeah, they are.
Okay, I'm going to pop along. 21st. I'm writing it down.
Well, lovely to see you there. It's brilliant. We've got some great organisations this year, and actually it's really, really inspiring this year because there's so much being done. And in previous years, I didn't have the bandwidth. Like last year, people would come up to the awards and they would win their awards, and that was fantastic for those people. This year, every day, we're sharing just a little bit of their story about what they're doing inside their organisation. And I'm sending out a newsletter every day, and I'm sending out social posts every day, just celebrating what they're doing. And it's really inspiring doing it. And but also having the energy to do that as well, because that I think if there was a frustration with some people or maybe even some of the judges last year, because it's completely independently judged, would be like, yeah, but nobody ever gets to find out what these people are doing. We all rock up on the night and we get this brilliant award for the work we've done. So this year, it's so nice to be sharing their stories. It's the favourite part of my day, because you wake up and go,
Really?
these, because it's individuals and organisations that care, and it's
Yeah.
like it's fantastic. So it is very energising and very positive. And we've already looked like we've beaten the attendance last year. So we had 250 people up at Expo last year. This year, we're already at that level, and I know there are more people circling that will be buying their tickets soon. So I think could be 300 plus there on the night, which is so nice as well because it's just a community of people that.
Yes. Yeah. So in terms then of the inclusion world, I'll be there next year.
Great,
on,
brilliant.
on the inclusion awards, what do you have going on at the moment?
In
Is there
terms of
many? Is there many people that are nominated? Do you have an inclusion?
actually, yeah, in the divert because there's a specific category for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also and in ESG. And it's interesting. So some entrants have come through the ESG pathway, but the DEI category this year is brilliant, and there are some really, really inspiring finalists in there, and big things as well. Dubai Holding Entertainment, Al Nabuda Automobiles, University of Birmingham, and EAND had a project in there. Oh God, I'm not going to give justice to it at all because they were all Zayn over in Kuwait, but some brilliant projects in there. And the judges have found it really, really hard this year to actually, because like every single, and I would say literally almost every single person that entered that or organization that entered the DEI category is a winner. The scores are really, really tight and the scores are high as well. And that was like, wow, that's really, really good. So it's given me so much hope, if I'm honest with you, because there is so much being done out there, not just on inclusion, but in inclusion. And also the education category is also really, really inspiring because you can see the work schools are now beginning to do on inclusion. And there's some really powerful entries. Well, again, Stafford Community Schools in there, BCA Academy, GEM schools in there, a Riyadh Academy, a chartered school thing over in Saudi Arabia. Again, I won't remember every single finalist, and they all deserve mentioning, but it is really, really pleasing to see that, and that schools are taking this seriously. Last year's winner was also brilliant in terms of that and the work they were doing around mental health and inclusion. So it's really, really exciting to see that the education um, industry as it is out here is taking this seriously as well and leaning.
It is, and that's you. Like I've been in a couple of schools, and there are some incredible inclusion departments. They really are working towards it. I guess it's just disappointing to see within the workplace that that's not following suit yet. That our kids are going. That's the kind of the world you want them to leave, and whatever supports that they may need, or an ability to advocate for themselves in a psychological safe space, I think is the most important, because once you can do that, then you can put your own supports in place if needed.
Sorry, I'm interrupting because I've got ADHD.
Please, I do it a lot.
No,
Not about
and I'm really enjoying having conversations now with people who also have ADHD because you don't have to apologise for it.
your wife will get annoyed.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, my friend was over the other night. They were just like his wife and my wife were just rolling their eyes and going, "There they go again." But no, I mean, from the world of work, it's such a massive opportunity that they have. But I do a lot of, I mean, a lot of what we do at MENTL is advocate for workplace well-being. And we're across lots of different sort of research and statistics. I mean, there's one figure like disengagement in the workplace globally costs 9 trillion in lost productivity. We got exclusive figures from Gallup, and we did the maths on it. And here, the potential cost of business in the UAE alone is 42 billion a
Wow.
year. It's 24, no, sorry, $2.4 million an hour could potentially be going up in smoke. And yet, on the flip side of that, the potential ROI of investing in
Yeah.
well-being, and this is again using figures from McKinsey and the World Economic Forum, it's over 60 billion. So there's a massive gap. But we did the maths on menopause the other day. How much
I
menopause.
saw the episode. You did
Hmm.
fantastic. Sorry.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, thank you, but thank you to the guests on that because they were both brilliant. Dr. Fiona and Donna, who runs the menopause Middle East Menopause Organization memo. Both of them fantastic. And I also got to speak at the Menopause Summit, which was brilliant. But again, here in the UAE, of that 42 billion, potentially 3 billion of what's going up in smoke is purely just not supporting your talented women who are going through the menopause. And at some point, I now, and as soon as we finish this call, I'm going to be hyper focused on trying to figure out what the potential cost of ignoring neurodiversity is in the workplace. Because we know,
Yeah.
and I actually, in my previous job, there was a really brave girl, Lauren. She was fantastic, and she's a fantastic superstar. And I was her line manager. I was and I could see she was struggling. I could see she was struggling. And then one morning, we sat down and we were like, right, look, this role that you have, are you okay to carry on doing this? Because I think it's hurting you. And she was like, I'm in tears in the car before I come into work, all this sort of thing. She was living with depression and ADHD. And we put in, and I didn't even know I was kind of almost like doing this for myself in a way, but we put in accommodations for her, which would cost nothing. Like, yes, you can work from home on some days, or if you need to go and work on the roof upstairs because it's your quiet space, or you need something, just do that. And she's an absolute star. So when we talk
Yeah.
about productivity and we talk about ADHD, it doesn't really cost that much to put in accommodation to then have these people who are, in general, hyper intelligent, just needs some support in one way or another. So why you in the same way, exactly the same logic about menopause? Why are you like putting a ball and chain around your employees? Why are
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
slowing them down rather than letting them speed up and achieve their full potential? Because if
Yeah.
you achieve their full potential, you're going to make more money. It's just it's good business to be a good business.
And unfortunately, obviously, that's what companies are about. We want them to be about well-being,
Yeah.
but if well-being is the selling factor for you to make more money, then that's absolutely one
And I'm all right if that's their path to treating their people well.
fine.
And that is the foundation, isn't it? And like actually, I think if they do that, they make the profit. But there is no piece of research that shows you that if you embrace well-being and you're a good company to work for, you're actually going to make less money on the long
No,
term. Particularly when
and
you
I don't think they're going to regret doing it either.
they also
Sometimes I think
work in a
you
good
don't
place.
see the benefits until they've started to do the work. I'm sure you know the statistic. 1 in 5 of the workforce are likely neurodivergent. So that's one in
I
five
didn't
of
know
the
that
workforce.
specific. I didn't know that
That's
specific.
also
Um,
the clients you're facing every day.
yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's going to enable me to go and do some maths as well, which is going to be really, really interesting. I'm excited about that.
I love math.
But yeah, it just makes perfect sense. Like you need to meet your people where they are, and if your people
Yeah.
are highly experienced, talented women who are struggling, through the menopause or the perimenopause, which is inevitable. It's not something that's optional.
Unfortunately.
Optional, exactly.
No,
It's
it's
going to
not.
happen to every single talented woman in your organization at some point. And again, I think, yeah, here it's at least again. I think women who could be going through the perimenopause or the menopause here make about 1 in 5. I think it is one in, again.
And and because I know they mentioned it on the episode you did recently. But women, autistic women, women, ADHD women, that's a whole other journey in itself. Because I know personally for me, the hormone fluctuations in my life were when the mask slipped, and it was I was very dysregulated. When I started to go into the menstruation cycle, my mother would have said to me, it's like one girl went to bed one night and a completely different one woke up the next day having a child, all of them. So, I mean, perimenopause and menopause for me, I want to be prepared. So it's great people are talking about it. But yeah, a lot of neurodivergent women get diagnosed during that time.
I mean, if you take a step back and look at the world of work, okay, like 50 years ago, most of the jobs we were doing were manually intensive, shall we say. They didn't require a lot of emotional intelligence. Now, I don't know what the percentage is, but just like it's 90% of all jobs, require some form of, because we're in a knowledge economy, particularly in this part of the world. So it requires emotional intelligence, which means you're just going to have to enable your employees' mental health, whatever they need to, and everyone's needs will be different. But you want to succeed, you need to lean into that.
So for the world your children are growing up in, because I know one of them is going into your, or is in your university now, right?
He just started university, yeah. Alfie's just started university.
What does he want to do?
He's in computers, so he's on the spectrum for autism. So he's but doing well, and he's done very, very well, and he should be very, very proud of himself for what he's achieved so far. And I've no doubt he'll be very successful because he is very focused on what he wants. So yeah, that's what he's. What does my daughter want to do? She's 10 in about a week's time. That changes. Keep saying she wants to be an author. So yeah, so did I, but I never finished any of those books. So
You will, though. You will be an author when the time's right. I
months.
always think divine timing. Things happen when they're supposed to.
That's one of my things happen for a reason. That reason is that we make bad decisions and we have to live with the consequences.
No such thing as a bad decision. It's all learning.
Oh, okay, yeah, like that. I'm going to nick that and steal it and use it. Yeah, look, I mean, looking forward, the world they're going to grow up in. I mean, I'm sure my boy's going to be fine. My other boy, Carolis, he's doing well for himself. He's in aerospace engineering, and he did really, really well to go through university during COVID as well and come out the other side and then get a job. So he should be super proud of himself as well. And then my daughter Autumn, she's lovely, and I just hope, I'm really glad she's at a school which teaches empathy and kindness and emotional intelligence. So we just need to see that continue, and then we'll see. I hope the world of work is a kinder, more empathetic place by the time she gets to it. Um, because if it is, and where our kids are, then it's all going to be better, isn't it? I mean, it's just like I speak to managers my age, or I've spoken to bosses, not leaders, my age, and they look at the younger generation and they say, call them snowflakes and say they're so sensitive. And it's like, yeah, but you're miserable too. And all the statistics tell us that, my age range, I'm nearly 53. Anyone who's in an executive management position right now, we're all struggling. So we roll our eyes at the kids who haven't had the benefit of decades of experience, and they're actually entering a world that's a lot faster and burns a lot hotter than the one we entered into when we first got into it. But we look at them and we think they're snowflakes, and it's like, but you're struggling. I know you're miserable. I know, that this is hard. So if we are, and we've got decades of experience and we're supposed to be emotionally more mature, then just have a little bit of sympathy for the kids, please.
But it's probably the opposite, because when I'm working with people, it's a lonely space where they are in leadership.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it is lonely at the top.
You try to put on this togetherness where internally, you're screaming, and that's not that's not helpful to anyone. Whereas at least children now are growing up and advocating for themselves and speaking up about their emotions. You know,
Every leader I've ever worked for, and I will say, like every time I've worked for a woman, she's brought stuff out in me, seen potential, and helped and supported me. Most of the guys, bar one, a legend called Kevin Booth, most of the guys I've worked with have fired me. Uh, but I see like they all they can do because they are deeply insecure. They can't even admit to themselves that they're deeply insecure. They're absolutely terrified by all the changes that are going on, with that, whether that be AI, technology, Gen Z, the need for emotional intelligence. Um, and the only thing they can do is double down on that kind of toxicity. Um,
yes,
and that doesn't help them. It doesn't help their people. It's just, and that will break at some point. They will break. And it doesn't achieve long term success either for individuals or for organizations.
no, no, it does. Vulnerability does. I talking up and speaking about your own struggles. I think it creates that psychological safety and makes everyone feel more happier and content within that space. More
And the psychological safety inside organizations is just like hugely important. I mean, even from a mitigation perspective, I mean, GM used to have, and they've gone on a massive journey to try and be a lot more inclusive. But years ago, they were like a very male centric, toxic, with no psychological safety in there. And that's where safety flaws were not reported. But yeah, a lack of psychological safety is just bad. Is bad for the profit of a company.
But I mean, it's also, you can't just train psychological safety like that.
No,
It takes a lot of time. Like, professionals take years and clinical supervision to be able to create that atmosphere. So it does take that time and effort, but it's certainly worth it.
well, I mean, I would say to any company on this one, it's like the old adage, and I'm really impressed. I remember this one, which is about planting a tree. You know, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today.
Yeah, yeah. Start the growth. Yeah, watering it. You will not regret it.
No, and again, it's inevitable. And again, look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha that's coming after it. It's unstoppable. So you might as well lean into it and reap the benefits rather than just being punched by people who will leave your organization. I'll give employees, if they tune into this as well. Like I work with Cigna Healthcare and they do an annual study every year. And I write the white paper for them every year. And when I first started writing 4 years ago, 40% of employees were looking for a different job, to seek that better work-life balance. This year, 67%.
Wow.
That to me feels like it's a statistically significant figure that employers should take seriously.
Because we're in a world now where you don't have to stay with that one company until you retire. You can shop and change as much as you want.
And we're in this part of the world, like, and yes, people want to buy property. I'd love to buy my property, but Gen Z and Gen Alpha are not that bothered about that. We were all taught. My generation was taught you buy a property, and as soon as you buy a property, you're kind of locked into. I want to stay with this employer because I've got a mortgage to pay. And then I've got school fees. But there's Gen Zs and Gen Alphas who were the arbiters of your future success, particularly in the AI-driven world. They haven't got those same responsibilities, and they're not going to tether them to your organization. You can tether them to your organization if you empower them and create psychological safety and optimize them and allow them to optimize their mental health.
Yes. Is there any company that you worked with that you really felt you made a difference and has left a lasting impression on
I love some of the work we've done. I was really, really impressed with some of the work that was happening in GM here, in this region. Some really good inclusivity happening there. I've loved working with Cigna Healthcare, I will say. They've been brilliant. And they've supported mental since day one. Viatris last year as well supported an awareness campaign that we ran called Tear Away the Silence. And they've been really supportive of us since day one as well. And that campaign reached more than 8.5 million people. So we're very proud of that one. But yeah, just day by day, you see organizations leaning in. Again, pretty much anyone that's won a mental award over the last 3 years, you look at what they're doing and you go, that's great. And you see also like organizations improving year on year. You see their scores tracking up. You see their data. This year, more than any year, we've got so much data that's been supplied. So it's not just intention, it's they're delivering it, learning, capturing the data, and then trying to improve on it year on year. Um, Acorn Strategy, Kate, she's fabulous. I could name I could name 400 if I was to look back at all the finalists of the Mental Awards. But yeah, it's impressive what's actually and it's very easy to tell yourself these days that everything is bad.
Yes. Yeah. Well, in any aspect, at any point in life, you can look at all the bad or all the good.
Yeah.
It's what you choose to look at.
Yeah. And I will say, I've literally been down. I got to speak at the Department of Health Abu Dhabi's Beauty of the Mind exhibition in Al Emirat Park, I think it was, at the weekend. Absolutely fabulous. It was brilliant. And that was a kind of partnership between the Department of Health Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi Public Health Centre, and it was just brilliant. There was holograms there. There was interactive stuff. They were hosting talks every day. I gave one, but they were bringing in people every day for 2 weeks, and this was in the middle of a park with families. There were kids in the room while we were doing the talks. It was so engaging. I am going to do a social post on it soon because I've got some of the pictures. But that gives you real hope when the government is driving this. I know that the Abu Dhabi, at a federal level, it's happening. Even here, in Dubai, they've got the Dubai Mental Wealth Framework, and they're investing 105 million dirhams. Um, in the space as well. And Dubai, the UAE. If it sets itself a priority, and it seems, seems that the government have now decided that the mental health and people thriving, they see it, they get it now, and that's a priority for them. They'll get there, and the private sector might get dragged kicking and screaming there, but they'll have to get there.
They will. They will. And hopefully, some are
Yeah.
more forward thinking and do decide to jump on the bandwagon sooner rather than be dragged.
Absolutely. We'll be a first mover in this space and take all the advantages.
Yes. In a year's time, if I was to meet you, what would you like to be telling me about yourself now?
I'm still in business. That would be good. But about me, ooh, you know what? I'm still doing it. I would like to say I know myself better. That's something I've been trying to discover or rediscover, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. I would like to say that I get more joy out of life as well, which I'm already beginning to see. And that's not to say there wasn't joy in my life. My family and the travels and everything, like, there has been joy, but there's been a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. And so, yeah, fearless is perhaps too much to aim for, but
It keeps us alive, I think. It's a survival check.
I'm a big believer in stretch targets as well. So, if I aim for fearless and I get to optimistic and confident, that would be brilliant.
Yes, it would. It would. Joys in the small things.
Yeah,
Bird
well,
flying from the tree to its nest to feed its.
yeah, and I'm noticing more as well at the minute. I am more present, and I've always been. I think I've been reasonably present, but I feel very, very present right now. I would like to be a bit more future focused in terms of, particularly with mental and its mission. And I need to start trying to be proactive rather than reactive, which I guess is be growth driven rather than and have a growth mindset. A growth mindset, that would be nice. I would like to say I've got a growth mindset.
But you create that in your body, in our body cafe. I was going to hand it over.
As opposed to, I'd like, thrive rather than survive, growth rather than just get through each day. That would be a good, that's a good starting place.
Are you able to take a mental space away from everything now when the awards are complete? Can you just take a step back and reset, or are you straight back into?
I think what's going to be hopefully exciting this year is that normally what happens is I deliver the awards. We have this wave of enthusiasm and energy that comes out of the awards, and I'm exhausted and I shut down and I don't resurface until January, realistically, which is, allows that kind of energy and enthusiasm that were built up over the awards to kind of dissipate. We don't take advantage of it, and that's all on me. That's all on me. Whereas this year, I'm really, really hopeful that this is not going to kill me like it's killed me in previous years. And actually, I'm going to be able to, and just knowing this about myself, knowing the
Yeah.
ADHD, the medication will help, but just knowing how I am will enable me to kind of pick myself up and go, right, now that we've delivered this, let's kind of, with that growth mindset let's not just let it all dissipate. Let's carry on talking to all these organizations. How can we find something where we can continue the good work rather than right we start from scratch again a year later and try and build all of that up again. So actually it's not about relaxing. I'd like to be able to build upon the awards this year rather than deliver it virtually crawl across the finish line and then collapse for 2 months or a month.
It's like all the highs, all the lows, trying to
Oh,
find that
yeah.
steady
I mean,
middle
the
ground.
highs and the lows just of being an entrepreneur is one thing, and now I'm realizing, with the ADHD, that's how we also experience emotions as well. It's exhausting, and also the fact that we take every criticism so, like
Literal. Or
hits.
perceived. So
Pardon?
it's a perceived criticism,
Yeah, the perceived,
not even one.
not necessarily criticism. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So hopefully I'll be able to navigate that and come out the other side with some energy left to spare.
Look for the steady. Look for the slower day, maybe. Just try not to go all guns blazing and take that little bit of time because I imagine it is a huge adrenaline surge on the night
It is.
and you need a couple of days to just unwind. What does
Yeah.
Scott need after?
I'm a big fan of Christmas. I've got a 10-year-old girl. I absolutely love Christmas. So I will, I always switch off for that anyway, make sure I'm there as part of that. But it's just that, you need a bit of time off, but you don't need a month off.
Yeah, it is. It is just looking at that balance, because I think then you don't lose momentum either.
Yeah.
You're tipping away, and but you'll still have enough energy to go at it in January.
Yeah. And also, this part of the world as well, like all the momentum, there's lots of momentum over that winter season. And for you to kind of shut down, just as everybody, there's all these inquiries, it's yeah, it's you're not fulfilling your potential, and I would now like to start fulfilling my potential and proving all those school teachers wrong.
You don't prove anyone wrong but yourself. You've already proved them wrong.
That wasn't their fault.
It was no. We can't know what we don't know. It's nobody's fault. That time. It's I guess how we present it can be different, and we were excellent maskers, which goes back to that point. I do wonder: is the mask part of us now? Will we ever know who is who? And that's okay too, because maybe that mask is where we are today, because is why we're where we are today. Because I do think it is very hard to differentiate sometimes.
I don't know, just taking more authentic steps forward.
Yeah.
Day
Yeah.
by
What feels right, in your gut, in your nervous system? Does it feel right? Does it feel wrong? You kind of
yeah.
relate more. Is there, and I am mindful I've taken so much of your time, is there anything we didn't talk about today that you think would be really beneficial for the audience?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, the imposter syndrome in me would say that nothing of it's been beneficial for the audience, but no, I guess it is around that kind of, you know, I know this is the do as I say, not do as I do, but that whole piece around self compassion and kindness, particularly now more than ever. We look at the world right now, and what social media is doing to us, just like you say, turn off those notifications,
Yeah.
stop listening to the hate, and actually, just start listening to yourself a little bit. maybe take the time to educate yourself about yourself, because we're living in a world where it's ruled by fear and anger, and life ain't that bad. There is so much. We're lucky because we live here, but life isn't that bad. I went back to the UK over summer, and so many people complaining and miserable and that sort of thing, and it was like, do you know how much of a lottery you've already won by being born here in the first place? Um, so yeah, but it's easy. It's easy to lose sight of this stuff because life's so fast, and you've got evil geniuses who are running social media platforms who want you to be afraid and who want you to be destabilized and insecure because that's good for their profit lines, but it's not good for you.
No, no, no. So to stay away from it, I'm not one for social media. It's required in this day and age, but it's not something I love. One final question for you.
Mm.
What would how would you say someone could allow you to feel seen as who you are, fully Scott?
I don't think I can answer that question just yet because I don't
Yeah.
know who fully Scott is. Um, but yeah, just listen and accept, I guess. But that's also something I need to do for me. I need to accept me, and that's a pretty new journey for me. So I, I, it's almost like I'm gonna start going out there now and having conversations with people, and it will be like this is rather than try and people please and mask. It's gonna try and be me, and I'm gonna be interested to see because that's a gamble as well. That if I don't just try and chameleon myself to fit into any specific crowd, and I try and just speak what's on my mind, that's well, I mean, that would have caused me horror a year ago, perhaps. Whereas now it's like, yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm sorry to give a long rambling uh,
No, valid, very
non
valid.
non-answer to your very good question, but yeah, I think it's just I'll, I'll work on accepting me and then see if people will accept me.
Well, I think it sounds like you're going to allow people in to see you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's
no,
that's
advocacy, and even when you're saying that, it's interesting because I have auditory sensitivities and light sensitivities, and like when I go to workshops, I'm like Bono taking my sunglasses, and I take my noise cancelling headphones, and I say, maybe I'll put these on if I need it, and that's okay because there's no point in me not advocating for myself and telling others to do so. I'll go into a cafe and tell them why I don't go there because the acoustics are too much, and if they put subtle changes in, the acoustics would be great in the place. So I've learned to do that, but it's a journey of discovering yourself and then slowly starting to advocate. And I always say doing it in a positive way. I work better when
yeah.
I work here, or I do, as opposed to I'm audio HD and I can't be in this room, or whatever that might be.
I think the biggest change if I was to crystallize one big change since being diagnosed with ADHD, I think I've moved from I have to I will.
Very good.
Because everything was I have to respond to this, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to keep that person happy, I have to deliver that, I have to, and now it's like that's almost I'm not saying gone, but it is that you transition to yeah, I will do that, and then I will do that, and then I will do that, and it just feels lighter and more control, and it feels like it's a choice rather than you being dragged by your own anxiety through all this panic to keep everybody around you happy.
Well, you sound a lot more. A lot more. I don't know how you sounded before, but you do sound relaxed.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. And again, my friends came over the other night and they were like, Scott, you seem happy. And I'm like, well, in this moment, yeah, I am. As opposed to just being, yeah, hiding the terror and the anxiety all the time and just masking and just, or drinking through it and trying to have a laugh. Now it feels like, yeah, okay, let's see what's next.
Thank you. I'm honestly so grateful, and for your honesty and vulnerability. It honestly will make such a difference.
Thank you for the conversation, because it really is fantastic to talk about this. Just like for me, it's fantastic.
Yes.
So it's great that you're giving this platform to everybody. Well done, you.
Helping people understand themselves. If someone wanted to reach you, how is best to reach you?
You'll find me on LinkedIn is probably my best channel, and that's Scott Armstrong Mental. If you just search for Scott Armstrong Mental, MENTL, or we have our website, which is Mental Space, MENTL.space. We couldn't afford the A in mental. We have a podcast called The Mental Space. And also we have mentalcommunity.com. You can join our community and sign up for the newsletters, and we will email you on a regular basis with news and updates and events and all sorts of exciting things.
And nobody should expect an instant response.
And nobody, well, 3 weeks ago you might have got it. Now it might take a little bit of time.
No, better take time. The message will arrive when it's supposed to.
It will do.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much.